Hello, this is Fizzcat, and I am back with a video this time about gearing. Oh, by the way, in case you're curious, the reason I have all these red dots all over everything is that I haven't cleared up is that's energy, and it's always good to keep your energy down below whatever your max is so that it keeps replenishing. And I don't want to use it yet. I'm going to use it later on when I do probably some dungeons or something later on this evening. But anyway, now the thing about gearing is there are a ton of gearing videos out there, of course, but what you get a lot of the time is they say, always use stats over sets, but use lifesteal and, or use savage or use regen. This is what you want to put this champion, and always use speed boots. Except this nuker here has attack percentage, boots or whatever. Like, it's really hard to say, like, especially if you're looking at higher end gear, like. You look at it and you think, well, what's the important thing here? Do I go with savage gear, or do I, have 100% crit rate, or what do I do to make my champion actually perform the best with the gear I actually have, which is not going to look like what an end game player has. And for this, I switched over to my early account. This is it's not even at 30 days yet. It's very young, and so it's more representative of it might be a little less than what many of you have, but it's probably closer to what a normal player who's in armature is going to have. And so let's take a look at what's going on here. I want to talk about sort of, when you use sets, why you use sets, and when you don't use sets. And maybe just as an example, I've got some champions here. I've got Lemonisi here, who I did manage to squeeze into Savage. But the most important thing I wanted on her is I needed to have 100% crit rate, and I wanted to have her over 170 speed. And I also wanted to have some accuracy on her, because she has some very useful debuffs. And in order to get that, I was able to squeeze her into Savage, and I did a mixed set. I don't have a matched set on the other two pieces because I didn't need it. The best stats I could get, like these are crit rate gloves here, and they're pretty good. They've got a nice big chunk of speed on them. And then the boots over here had some nice attack, which is kind of lacking on the rest of it, because, and it's got crit damage and accuracy, and it's almost my only 6-star speed boots on the account. So I went with those because the chest is actually HP, but it was the only chest I had. Now it's HP percentage. If that had been flat HP, I just wouldn't have bothered. But at least, she's tanky, and she'll get extra. Well, she got some extra damage from her the blessing. She's at 2 stars now, Ascension, and she will get more. As the event goes on, eventually I'm going to have her up to like a 5-star blessing, and that will give her additional accuracy and crit damage. And I'm really looking forward to that because she really needs it. But so in this, but if I had not been able to get her up to 100% crit rate and up to that level of speed using a Savage set, then I would have just dumped the Savage and used mixed gear to get her where I needed her to be. Because you really need to have 100% crit rate on your nuker. Now, there's always exceptions. Kayle and all the starters actually come with a built-in 85% crit rate. Either they have like a buff that they do give themselves, or something that kind of, they have an extra 15%. So you only have to get them up to about 85%, and they'll still perform pretty well. Coldheart has an extra 30% built into her kit, or maybe you're using somebody who has a crit rate aura in your team, and so you can cheat that a little bit. But in the end, the point is that when your nuker hits the enemy, they need to be landing crit rate. It has to land 100% of the time. However you get there is how you get there. So now for both, he's, I've only got 360s on this so far. And he's got a lot of good buffs and debuffs, and he cleanses and he heals, and he also hits. He has an AoE hit, which hits reasonably hard. So I wanted to, give him the crit rate. But because he, anyone who does any kind of buffs, or debuffs rather, on the enemy, if you want those debuffs to land, or if they reduce the enemy's turn meter or anything like that, any effect they have besides actually doing damage, it requires accuracy. So I gave him some. I'm working toward more. Ideally, I'd like to get him up to about 200, which should cover all the dungeons through level 20. But as I said, my highest dungeon level right now is 16. Dragon 16, so I've got him over 160 accuracy for now, and that's plenty. And I've got him fast, so he comes in and he's almost a little faster than I need him to be, but I've got some good speed. And as you can see, I don't have any, I've got one speed set on him, but not a lot. The accessories help because these are the pinpoint accessories, and that gives him an extra 10 speed, and of course also the accuracy. They're not great. I mean, I'd love to have maybe an accuracy banner on him, but I'll get there. I just don't have it yet. It's only 3-star, but I mean, I've only got a few, and this one actually had the stats that I wanted. It's got 15 accuracy on it, and it gives me the bonus from the set. So and with that, but there's some mixing and matching going on in here. But again, speed boots, gotta have the speed boots. HP chest, crit rate gloves. Ideally, he should really be in a defense chest because he does damage by defense, but he's got good survivability, so it works. But he's sort of a mixed debuffer. I'm not worrying about getting a ton of crit damage on him because he's not really a nuker. And if I had, part of why I went with this is because it also has some accuracy on it. And again, it's early game. So I take what I can get. Kale, you want to go with that lifesteal set if you got it. I've got him in the starter lifesteal set, but if you don't have him as your first 7-day login, if you've got one of the legendaries like Lemonici instead, then you get different gear and you have to cobble it together however you can from that. But it's the same old, speed boots, attack chest, crit rate gloves. It's what you want. I've been working to get his accuracy up. I've got it, again, just a little shy of where I'd really like it, which is right around 200. Speed's good. Crit rate's enough. He works. He's good. And you might notice I really lucked out with him. I've only pulled a few blessings on this account. I only got to the point where I could pull any blessings at all about a week and a half ago. And one of the very first ones I pulled was a 6-star Kale. So he's my strongest champ and probably will be for a while with that blessing. Now, if you're building a straight up support champ, this is Gom here. Well, actually, Gom's interesting because he's not straight up support. He is my speed lead, and because he has AoE increased speed, which is really, really important, and everyone should have one. If you don't have him, you can. I don't have Haikatun yet. I haven't gotten her yet, but she's okay. But I really like Gom. I'm glad I picked him up from the fusion. So I've got him fast. And I'd like to have more HP on him. I'm going to hope for some better gear and accessories to make that happen. His defense is good. And he's got accuracy because he lands a stun and he also lands leech. And I really, really want those. So he's going to be my next 6-star. And, but I don't worry too much, which piece is HP, which piece is not. I've got HP, defense. Those could just as easily be reversed. And again, speed boots, always speed boots. And in this case, I've got some nice pieces up here from see, I've got a chunk of accuracy on that one from the pinpoint. So but basically, like, if I don't have the sets for it, then I just, you do what you can. And don't worry too much, if you can't get damages on somebody or you're a little short somewhere. And not every champion, like in this case, he does his damage based on attack, but I didn't worry about putting any attack on him because he's just not going to do a lot of damage. That's not what he's for. He is entirely for his debuffs and for his speed. So anyway, that's sort of the gist of it. I want to do another video where I actually talk about turn order, like how you set the speeds so that champs go when you want and have the best effect on your team. But that's going to be in another video. I'm not going to get into that kind of gearing yet. But I do want to talk a little bit about gear cleansing. I need to move something here so I can see what I'm doing. Okay. And I've already gotten rid of the 2 and 3 star gear on this account because I'm just at the point where I can do that. But I still have some 4-star, and I feel like, they say, get rid of your 4-star right away as soon as you possibly can, but that is not always the case. Okay, that I could probably get rid of in that, but if you have a piece that's actually good, this is this has speed on it. If I don't have speed in 5-star pieces, okay, that one does also. That one I just rolled up recently. That's really good. But if the substats are bad, like, okay, that one is, it's 6-star, but flat attack and flat defense are just terrible. I should probably just sell it. I'll do that later. But this, on the other hand, rolled into speed. The other two are terrible, but this is a much better piece because it's got 10 speed on it and it's a speed set. That said, even outside of speed sets, my number one thing that I'm always looking for is speed. That's just, any piece in any set, it doesn't matter where it's from. If it has a good, strong, like, okay, well, that one's nice. It's a crit rate set with crit rate on it, which is why I'm keeping that one. But, if it could be like, everything else could be terrible about it. It could be in the weirdest set in the world. But if that is if it has a lot of speed on it, that instantly takes it up a notch. Now, this I probably will never use because it's in a damage set and it's resistance. And it doesn't have any resistance. Well, it wouldn't have resistance in the substats, but it doesn't have a lot of, like, the speed is only 3. Sometimes it starts at 4. And it doesn't have any crit rate. So, it's not a great piece. I should probably sell it. But if this rolled a quad speed on it, then I might actually, now see, it rolled 1 speed, but it rolled into the flat HP. So I'm going to sell it. But you never know. If that had rolled straight 4 speed rolls, I might keep it. Or like this one, HP and speed. It's not something I'd keep in later game, but right now, it's got some decent stats, and I don't have a lot of other pieces that do. That one, crit damage is not a great set, so I should probably sell off all my 4 stars in that set. Accuracy sets are actually very valuable in early game, so I'm a little lenient, and particularly, like, I'm probably getting to the point where I could safely just sell off all the 4-star rares that I've got here, because I have some choices among higher level pieces. I've got a bunch of 5-star, and I've got some 4-star epic. So these, I can probably safely just sell them. But I would not necessarily do the same thing to the gloves or chest or boots yet, because, like, right now, I don't have that many speed boots. This one, I had on one of my core champions, and I really needed the speed, so I took it all the way to 16, even though I don't normally recommend that on 4 stars, but the stats are good. So I'm going to hang on to that one. What I would sell is any boots that are not speed, unless I think I had an exception. I sold them all except for, oh yeah, I had a Savage piece. This one, well, okay, it's defense, but remember, you can have defense nukers. So if this were to roll into crit rate, HP and crit rate, okay, I'm not going to roll it up more right now, but if it got more rolls into crit rate, then that might actually be a piece I would consider using, assuming I can get the speed from substats in other pieces. And that is really not too far beyond early game. On that other account that I used just yesterday in my demo, that's I think it's level 80, and the gear on it is not very good, actually, because I mostly use it just for CVCs and things like that. I have a nuker on there that has attack percentage boots, but she's still at 191 speed because I have other pieces in her set that have triple rolls in speed that are as much as 23 speed, I think, is on her shield, for instance. And so I was able to make up the difference that way. But normally, if you're well, that's terrible. I should probably sell it. But normally, you would not keep, if it's just 4 or 5 star, or if it doesn't have really great stats, then anything that isn't speed is kind of an auto sell. But in terms of how to know what to keep, look at what the set is for. Stalwart is specifically to prevent damage. It would be really great on a support champ, maybe a reviver that you're trying to keep alive, or a healing champ, again, that you need them to stay alive. And it doesn't give any, it wouldn't be necessarily bad on a nuker, but it doesn't give anything that's going to help the nuker do its job. So I'm going to be looking for defensive stats on here. Also, you always want percentage. I don't want flat defense up here, defense 35. I want, see, these are terrible. Now, accuracy, technically a flat stat, but it doesn't come in percentage form. So when I say don't do flat stats, what I mean is defense, HP, or attack. You want percentage, not flat stats. These, even though I don't have that many 6-star epic pieces, it's flat stat, and on top of that, it doesn't even have speed. So, and this one has speed, it does have speed, but it's flat attack, and it's not in a set that's particularly useful. So I'm going to sell those, and that's what you want to do. You just want to go through all your gear. I've got a ton of all this stuff can be sold. These are just from campaign farming, but for instance, if I was going to use a curing set, well, it's a bonus heal. Most healers base their healing on HP, so what I'm looking for is a lot of HP and a lot of speed. And I wouldn't be saving, crit rate things necessarily on that. But if you can get good stats and also put them in a set, then do that, but don't force them into sets. Just use the sets for what they do when it's convenient to actually have them do it. There are plenty of ways to get there that don't involve sets. Now, the exceptions, of course, lifesteal. The thing about lifesteal is, it heals you. It heals nukers. It doesn't heal support champs well because they don't do a lot of damage. So you want to put your damage dealers like Kale in lifesteal so they can solo things. And also, if you don't have any leech or you don't have a lot of healing on your team, then they're going to need lifesteal, particularly in clan boss, so they can keep topping up on their own without a healer rescuing them or blocking their damage or whatever. And now the equivalent of a healing set for support champs is regen and also guardian. And these are, wait, I think I went too far. Oh, and wait, no, I don't have any guardian, of course, because I'm just getting into Doom Tower on this account. But I think I have a few regen pieces. There they are. They're great. Healing is based on HP. You want lots of HP, and of course, you want lots of speed. In terms of what you're looking for on your regen gear. This is another one where I'm keeping pieces that I might not keep in something like, speed, which I'm getting all the time from Dragon, because it's harder to farm. And it can be really, really great, like on your revivers, on champs that just you really need to keep alive and that don't do enough damage to benefit from lifesteal. But other than that, just other than that, it really is stats over sets. Unless you can get, similar stats from a set, in which case, sure, enjoy. Other useful things, occasionally, there are always niche things and exceptions. Destroy sets are really good against the Scarab boss because they reduce max HP. They're actually really important there. Stun sets are great when you have a champ with an AoE A1. Because they can just keep hitting, stun after stun after stun as you're getting through waves. Toxic sets can sometimes be handy in Dragon. I suppose in Dragon, but in Clan Boss for a little extra poison damage if you're short. Retaliation is great, but again, don't force your champs into it, because if they're not also doing a bunch of damage, then who cares if they counterattack? As I said, there are a ton of videos that walk through exactly what the sets do and which ones are great. So, and Perception is fantastic. Always do Faction Wars. Get your Perception gear. It is really, really good. Do Pinpoint, even if you can't do it very high. It's such a good set. It's worth it. And I think that's probably it for now. The only other thing I wanted to talk about is how to filter these things out so you can figure out what you're doing. Use your tools down here. You can do, if you're trying to figure out what speed boots you have, use primary stat speed, and you can go through. So you don't have a ton, which is why I'm keeping some of my 4-star ones. I don't need all of these. I could sell a couple of these, but I'm not dumping them all because I just don't have that many. You can go through if you have flat HP, attack, or defense. Of course, the top stats are going to have it, but for these bottom row things, these are pretty much all instant sell. But you might want to consider the set in question, or chaos, or usually you don't have enough for that really to be part of the picture. But and maybe in a really good set, like if it rolled a triple roll in speed, who knows, maybe for a niche champ I would consider it. But if it doesn't have speed on it, it's gone. If it's a set like Crit Rate that's just not that good, it's gone. And you can go through that way. Just get through your flat stats and get rid of them. And you can select, you can go through by type of gear, go through all your gloves at once, and if you're not sure, like Crit Rate gloves, for instance, go through that way. If you're not sure if you have enough 5 or 6-star Crit Rate gloves and you're nervous about selling your 4 stars, you can kind of just take inventory and see what you've got before you start selling things off. And go through that way. And remember that you don't want to mix stats. For instance, if it's damage piece, and it might not even be in a damage set, but let's say you have a legendary piece and it's got stats that are kind of all over. If it rolls into all crit rate and crit damage, that's great. But if it rolls into like crit damage and resistance, that's not great because you don't need both crit damage and resistance on a nuker. You kind of want one or the other. And that's going to tell you a lot about whether a piece is actually good. Like these I can sell. But this one, speed and crit damage, could be good on a nuker. Crit damage and resistance, that's exactly what I was talking about. It's no good. And it with no speed, I wouldn't keep it in a speed set anyway. Just because, and as I said before, just because a piece has more stars does not mean it's better. Just because it has a gold border does not mean it's better. Sometimes all the gold border means is you can see that all the substats are terrible. And it's like, okay, helpful information there. This one, it's terrible because it's a flat piece. We're getting rid of that. But okay, well, that's at least a percentage stat. So that's superior, even though it's just rare. Not great, but for now, because I don't have a lot of choices, I'm going to keep it. So anyway, that's sort of a quick little talk about gear and why you do it. Just remember, it's okay in early game. Like if you just don't have the crit rate, maybe you do end up putting attack gloves on somebody or whatever. Just remember to go back and fix it later, because you just have to keep in mind what's important, which is getting your speed up, getting support stats on your support champs, and getting damage stats on your damage champs, and making sure there's enough accuracy all around. And it's an ongoing process. It will get better. Just it's a puzzle. It can actually be kind of a fun puzzle, when you get new pieces and you get to plug them in different ways. And just look at it as a challenge like that, rather than just some set answer where somebody can walk in and say this is the perfect solution. Also keep in mind, now some people do use the Hell Hades gear optimizer. It is a good tool, but if your pieces aren't rolled up, it's not very useful. I know I said this in an earlier video, but I'm going to repeat it. Like for instance, this piece here, it could be a great piece if it rolled a triple accuracy. But if it rolls triple flat HP, it's going to be terrible. And right now, the optimizer can, it can predict that it's, when you take it to level 16, that top main stat, the 25 defense, is going to go up accordingly. But it has no idea how the substats are going to roll. So if all your gear is unrolled, the optimizer is not going to get good results for you. So anyway, down the road though, when more of your gear is rolled up, and it's good to, you roll it to 8, you sometimes just to 4 and find out if it's terrible. Like that suddenly became a much better piece. In fact, I'm going to roll it to 12 and see if I keep my luck there. No, but it's still good. 29 accuracy is nothing to sneeze at. So, that's a piece worth keeping at this stage in the game. You want to go through all your gear, do that, do it during artifact enhancement, so you get some points for it, get some extra loot, and just here's an example. I'm gonna roll a 12 so we can look at this. Okay, defense and crit damage, not a great combination, but lifesteal is a damage set, and crit damage, of course, is good for that. So, and I don't have a lot of 5-star legendary pieces, so I'm definitely going to be keeping that one for now. And but if it had rolled entirely into HP and defense, then maybe not, because that would make it more of a defense piece in an offense set. So, and lifesteal. But on the other hand, if it had rolled quad speed, I don't care about the rest. Then it's an amazing piece and it stays on the account. So, I think I've probably rambled enough, and I hope some of this was helpful. I don't know if I mentioned, but of course, crit rate gloves are great. You use crit damage only when you can get enough crit rate. But the other thing with that is, in addition to attack gloves pretty much only being for bomb champions, and so you don't need many of them. With accessories, also, you don't need a lot of attack amulets if you have crit rate. If you don't, like, right now, or I mean, not crit rate, crit damage. Like, this is the only, I have two amulets. One of them is HP, and the other one is attack. So if I get an Ogryn Nuker, I don't have a lot of options. So I'm definitely keeping that, even though it's attack. Down the road, what I would ideally like if I had a nuker would be a crit damage amulet. And that's, again, you get what you get and, make do. This one, Pinpoint is so good, I'm actually keeping the 3-star for now. But that's look at a lot of down here I haven't looked at. But anyway, that's the sort of thing you just have to just sometimes make decisions about in early game. And just keep in mind that down the road, when you have a bunch of crit damage amulets, you can basically sell off all but your one very best attack one in each faction, just in case you happen to get a nuker. And you want that one to have high accuracy, because it takes accuracy to land the bombs. So, at least on the amulet, that's what you're looking for in terms of what's a good one to keep. And I think that will actually do it. So, have a good night, and thanks for sticking with me, and have fun.